Well, good morning. It's good to have you with us today for week number 65. We're supposed to do 5 weeks. We are now on 60 extra weeks. Anyway, I'm glad you're with us today. Remember, money is not the most important thing in life, but it is like oxygen on the gotta have it scale. So I'm Tom Kuhn. I'm your host and the founder and the curator of this weekly roundtable. We're from Qnity, where our whole mission is to help people not only earn and make great money, but do what you love and have a great quality of life. And how to go from something that's complicated, overwhelming, and confusing into more of a clear path that's of meaning to you for prosperity. Using a simple, visual, and actionable approach. And remember to prosper, manage your ATM, your attention, time, and money. And we want to thank you for investing your precious time with us today and each week when you join us. Last week's guest was Janet Williams. It was a great conversation we had with Janet about inclusion and money. And we also had a segment. We invited members of the Beauty Changes Lives team with us to share mentor-related opportunities. If you're interested in becoming a mentor, I will have Michelle once again post in the chat in a little bit here how to get a hold of our friends at Beauty Changes Lives, because it's a great opportunity to give back. Speaking of giving back, Winn Claybaugh is our guest today. And this is a man that knows how to give, and his body of work is actually incredible. So I'm super excited to have Winn join us in a few minutes here. We hope you have some light bulb moments today and that maybe you connect some new dots for you so that you're able to move forward with greater prosperity. We do include in the meeting invite the Qnity 9 Grid, a visual thinking tool. It is there to help you keep track of your light bulb moments, to create a storyboard, mind map, or a visual step-by-step. So past recordings are posted on YouTube now, and they should all be on YouTube. They're also in our Plan for Profits portal. So we have assembled an amazing brain trust of individuals, of which this is a fraction of the number of people that have contributed over the last year and a half plus. And we'll be adding Winn to our brain trust very shortly. So, all right, without any further ado, Winn, we'd love to have you come on camera and turn your mute off. How are you, Winn?
I'm excellent. How are you doing?
Let me guess, you were up at 4 a.m. this morning.
How did you know that?
And you, what else did you do before we even get, it's 8 o'clock your time. You're on the West Coast, right?
I'm on the West Coast. Yeah, I have a 9-year-old daughter. And so she gets up at 6 o'clock, which means I have so much to take care of before that happens. And so what else did I do? I took care of the dogs. I had coffee. I lit a little candle, right? You know, I got to set the mood. I got to create the energy in this space of mine, not just for myself so that I'm ready for you, but more importantly, so that I'm creating that energy for my daughter. Because I think it's my job to teach her now at an early age how to wake up and decide that it's going to be a really good day and that she has the power to make that happen. And so, oh yeah, so much happens between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the morning.
Well, you're off to a great start. And what I find is that every time I talk to you and with a lot of our great guests, we've had so many great guests that I'm just taking notes along with the rest of us. So I'm already taking notes and we haven't even gotten started yet. So Winn, you and I have been acquainted for probably at least 25 years.
Right.
And we met many years ago, and we've stayed in touch periodically. But I've really gained an increased appreciation for what I'll call a body of work. Your body of work is absolutely incredible in terms of all your contributions in pro beauty. Not only pro beauty, but now you're off to creating dog grooming studios, which we should spend a few minutes talking about that. And you do everything at scale. You do everything big, you know, And so I've got a lot of admiration for you and want to acknowledge you right at the start. So thank you for everything that you've done and you do, and you're an inspiration in so many different ways.
Thank you, Tom. It's really an honor. Let me tell you something. The ADD has been very, very good to me. I got to focus on a whole bunch of different projects. My whole life since I was a little kid, people are telling me to sit still, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I had a woman in first class. I'm in first class. I'm a grown adult, right? The woman sitting next to me in first class got so frustrated. She's like, sit still. I'm like, oh my gosh, my whole life that's what they're telling me to do.
So it's kinetic energy in motion always with Winn, huh?
It has to be. It has to be because I mean, consider the alternative. You know, when you and I were talking yesterday, I told you that one of my mantras, one of my themes is that I would rather be stressed than bored, because I know a lot of people who are very bored. They can't get off the couch. To me, it's like walking into a room where there's a whole bunch of light saying, oh my gosh, it's dark in here. No, it's not. There's so much light in this room. Take your hands off of your eyes and you'll see that there's so much opportunity. There's so much going on. And I can deal with being stressed. If I wake up and I'm stressed, I know to go to the gym. I know to get more sleep that night. I know to go get a massage. I can handle being stressed. I never, ever want to feel like I'm bored.
Yeah, that's you had some major insights when we spent a little bit of time prepping here, and that was one. And that's a great call out. And I'd rather be stressed than bored. You said something else yesterday that really kind of connected with me. Many things connected with me, but it was something along the lines of, let me see if I can get your quote down. You'd rather make money for who and what you know versus what you do.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
It was really good advice that somebody gave to me many, many years ago. Because at that point, again, I'd rather make money based on who I know and what I know rather than for only what I do. And at that time, when they gave me that advice, I was only making money based on what I did. And so at that time, I was a motivational speaker. And so the only time that I made money was when I stood on a stage, when I jumped on a plane, left my home, left my comfort, and jumped on a plane to then stand on a stage someplace, because, you know, people don't come to us, we have to go to them. But at the same time, I already had 20, 30 years of experience. I know a lot of people. It's always been a top priority for me to build great relationships, not just within the brand of my own company that I work with, that I stand in front of, but to build relationships with the entire beauty industry and outside of the beauty industry. And so I always had a lot of relationships, but I wasn't capitalizing on that. I wasn't capitalizing on my wisdom and my experience, nor on my contacts and my relationships. And so now I want to make money whether I choose to do something or not. If I choose to take the month off because I want to volunteer at my daughter's school every single day, I want to be able to do that. But at the same time, I still need to make money. And so that's how I now choose to make money.
You know, the piece about your relationships in pro beauty is something that is sort of a given with you. I think that one of the things that inspires me so much about you is you're actually a tremendous ambassador for pro beauty, for the things you do outside of pro beauty. And you have these big relationships that you somehow, I mean, how do you meet all of these different people that, one of the things I should talk about is your masters. And you've done, it looks like since 1995, you've interviewed over 325 beauty and business professionals. Now, here's what I said last week, by the way, when I said my guest. Normally, I don't announce the guest for the next week. In many cases, because I don't know who the guest is until a day or two before. In our particular case, we had to do a little more advanced planning. But here's what I said last week. I said, Wynn's going to be my guest. And I feel like Joe Schmo interviewing Larry King, you know. I mean, 325 beauty and business professional artists and educators and mentors in your master's series. So you were doing like podcasts and stuff and interviewing people way back in 1995. So here's a question for you. Out of all of your interviews that you've done, all right, put you on the spot here, but it's, you know, putting you on the spot is actually, I'm not putting you on the spot. Who have been some of your favorites The
Oh, wow,
ones that inspired you the most?
that's a very good question. And yes, I did start this 22 years ago. So long before there was the term podcast. And I'll tell you the truth, Tom, for me, back when I started this, it wasn't because I was inspired to. I was desperate. I was desperate and I needed some answers. And I'm not a big reader. I wrote a book, but I don't read. So how I always gained my knowledge and experience and my wisdom was by talking to people, by finding great mentors. And I was having those conversations already. Then I just decided to put a microphone in the equation so that other people could hear what their answers were. And so the very first person that I interviewed, and you asked the question, who are some of my favorites? The first person I interviewed was Vidal Sassoon, because I thought if Vidal says yes to me, who's ever going to say no? And that's exactly what happened. Nobody's ever said no when I don't want you to interview me. Everybody's always said yes. And by the way, we don't pay anybody. I'm not getting paid today. We share our ideas, we share our wisdom. And so that many interviews, lots and lots of favorites along the way. I did get to interview Larry King a long time ago, maybe like 20 years ago or 15 years ago. Modern Salon magazine called me the Larry King of the beauty industry because I'd interviewed so many people. Well, Larry read that somehow. He called me and said, okay, you need to come to my house so I can teach you how to be Larry King. So after he taught me how to be Larry King, I then said, okay, well, let's practice. Can I interview you? And so that was obviously one of my favorite people to interview. I mean, just think of his stories and who he has sat across from. And I don't always interview famous, rich, successful people. I want to interview what we'll call everyday people, people who have a story to tell. Because at the end of the day, everybody has a story to tell. And I believe that the best teachers, the best leaders, the best mentors are storytellers. And so those people watching this or listening to this right now that think, oh, I don't have anything to contribute. No, you have a story to tell. And when you are transparent with your stories, not just the victories and the successes, because when you're hanging out with somebody like Vidal Sassoon, he's not sitting there telling you about his accolades or his money or his awards or the house he lives in. He's genuinely interested in you, the audience, that one-on-one person. And because he's genuinely interested, he's asking you questions. He wants to find out what's in your heart, what's in your brain, so that whatever he shares is something that contributes to you.
Something I learned yesterday, I didn't know. I just always assumed that a lot of these masters interviews that you've done, your 325 or what it is as of today, I just assumed that many of them were virtual. And you said they were all in person until the pandemic?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So over 20 years in person, which, took a lot of coordinating. It took a lot of jumping on a plane and, okay, can we meet in your hotel room? Can we go to some quiet spot? And sometimes they weren't a quiet spot and you heard all the background noise. One of my favorite interviews was with Noelle DiCaprio, an icon in the salon and spa business. And I interviewed her 2 weeks before she died. And I kind of feel like maybe she knew that was her last message to the beauty industry. And it was powerful. It was in her office across the desk from her. And without knowing this, behind her, which she was covering with her red shawl, behind her were oxygen tanks that she was hiding from me because she was in that state. And the second that we finished the interview, they put her in an ambulance and sped away. And
wow.
But again, she hid all of this from me because she wanted to have this connection. She wanted to be able to contribute and share her message. And I still look back at that interview thinking, how lucky was I that I got to capture her words before she died. So there's a lot of those very, very magical experiences. And I want it. You could not have done that interview virtually. That had to be a face-to-face. And by the way, that's what we're learning from the pandemic. We've been very, very good at doing things virtually, and that's great. We'll be the best at it. But at the end of the day, you guys, come on, we need to be with each other. We need to have a connection. We need to be back in physically contact with each other.
Yeah, I would echo that. I mean, we've had several events really starting in September, and every single one, I just came away just so on fire. I mean, it was that missing link to, it's sort of like I forgot when you don't have, let me give you an example. I had to fast a week ago. And it's like that first taste of food, it's like, wow, oh, I really missed it. And you just have that sense of complacency on a day-to-day basis. And you take things for granted. So certainly the live in person is amazing. Now, I got so many different subjects I can cover with you. Let's go through one more of your interviews. You talked about the woman that swam, first person that swam from, was it Cuba to the Keys or vice versa?
No, yeah, Cuba to the Keys. Her name is Diana Niad. I have not interviewed her yet. It's on the roster to interview her, but I just hosted her. So she spoke in person live at an event that I did about 3 weeks ago. And oh my gosh, again, a storyteller. So get this, her first attempt was in her 20s to swim from Cuba to the Florida Keys. She finally accomplished it at the age of 64. So, I mean, talk about that fabulous, powerful message that, you know what, we're not done. In fact, I'm 62 now, and I believe that in my 60s and 70s is when I'm really, really going to take off. And so that's why I needed her to share that message. But let me tell you something, Tom. In her presentation, which was an hour long to my leadership group, she never quoted one principle. All she did was tell the story. She didn't say, okay, and by the way, write this down to be successful. Step number one. She never did that. All she did was tell her story. And then the audience was able to pull from her story what they needed to learn and gain. And it was powerful. Again,
Yeah.
we're all storytellers, and we just need to tell stories. That's what you and I are doing now. That's what you and I did yesterday, but when the camera wasn't rolling, we just talked to each other and had a conversation. It was great.
It was awesome. And I said, I don't want this conversation to end. I'm going to fly out and spend a day or two with you. All right, here's where I want to go next. Talk to me about these dog grooming studios. How you ended up in that area. I mean, you are like a classic entrepreneur. And by the way, this is a financial roundtable, but my point of view is that money is really the byproduct of our efforts, and so we didn't spend any time talking about money yesterday. And I know money's not the main motivator for you. It's creativity, it's making an impact. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how the heck did you get to the point? You actually have 3 dog grooming studios right now. And your goal is to get to how many dog grooming studios?
500.
That's
500.
all?
Yeah. In about 5 years, we'll have 500. But, first of all, money, because you talk about money, and that's, for many, many years, I had this guilt about money, like somehow that was a bad thing for me to want to make a lot of money, for that to be on my priority list of what I wanted to accomplish in life, that somehow is a bad thing. And it's not a bad thing. I don't believe that money can buy you happiness, but it can buy you a better form of misery. So if you choose to be miserable, you might as well be rich, take the edge off a little bit. And what does Les Brown say? If you have a lot of money, you can be butt ugly, but people will find something very attractive about you, right? Like his ears are so sexy, right? So money's a good thing. Money's a very good thing, and I believe that it should be on the top of our priority list, or way up there, because money gives you power, which means now you can make a difference in the lives of other people. So yes, money is a good thing, but you're right, it is a byproduct of a whole bunch of other things, which include that drive, that passion, creativity, collaboration. I love that word. If you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, do it with a group of people. Collaboration is a beautiful, beautiful thing, but there's that old saying, that old adage that if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. That was the worst advice that anybody ever gave us. That is such stupid, small-minded advice, because again, it's not about how many points we can score. It's about how many points can we help the entire team score. And so the collaboration of some some good friends and people that I'm in business with, we came up with this other idea. It's kind of a continuation of what we're already doing because we're in the school business. So we graduate thousands of qualified, passionate, incredible next generation stylists and barbers who know how to cut hair. And many of them love animals. So for us to marry the two of them, so in this dog grooming, it's called Salty Dog. We hire licensed professionals from the beauty industry. So what we like to say is that they're trained on humans first, and now they get to work on animals. And so we're very successful already. We have, again, 3 locations open, even though we've been working on this for like 5 years. You know, all that background work of franchising and getting licensed in every state and creating the FDD. So that's what we've been doing, like building a house with all the plumbing and the electrical first. And we just, we sold 5 locations in Chicago. And so we're on our way. It's very exciting, very fun.
That's amazing. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but I didn't realize that you were using beauty professionals as the groomers.
Yeah, you know, that's one of the challenges that exists in the dog grooming business is finding talent. And so when you're able to access and tap into that talent, and by the way, it's not just my company, my new Salty Dog grooming salons that can tap into this incredible talent pool that we have, but every salon out there, it's amazing how many salons will call my schools and say, send me your graduates. And we're like, well, who are you? You know, so now you want them. Now you're interested in them. Where were you the first day they started school? Where were you when they needed a mentor? Where were you when they were trying to raise money for that local animal shelter or that women's organization? Where were you on career day? Where were you to host them in your salon and teach them about the career opportunities available, not just in your salon, but in the entire beauty industry? So yeah, we have to mentor, and that would be, not that you asked me this, but I'll do that plug anyway. I just challenge everybody watching this and listening to this. You need to show up in a school. It doesn't have to be what you consider to be the best school, because even in some of those schools that maybe you think they're not the best, there is incredible talent going to school there, and they need you. They need for you to show up. Don't wait for that school to call you. They're not going to call you. Don't wait for them to pay you to come in. They're not going to pay you to teach a class. You volunteer your time, you get in there and you start mentoring that next generation.
You know, really sound advice. And I know that I haven't even read the chat yet, but I think it's blowing up. The thing I want to ask you is, a lot of salon owners are very discouraged right now, and it's a very different staffing climate. It has been. This isn't like an overnight, but certainly the pandemic was a major accelerator. Do you think the professional beauty industry is in a human capital crisis right now?
I do, but I don't feel like we need to be in that crisis. What's happened here, somebody explained the pandemic like God sent everybody to the room, the entire planet. Go to your room, take a time out, take a pause, and then come back out better and stronger than you were before. And that's the point of all of this. This is a bump in the road that we're all going through. And the purpose, we all believe that everything happens for a reason, and the reason is always for our good. Things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And I look at the pandemic almost like a forest fire that decimates it. It destroys most everything. But what it leaves is brand new soil, more fertile ground for new things to grow, for new ideas, new businesses, new opportunities. So look at it like that. Yeah, that forest fire wiped out restaurants. It wiped out major department stores. It wiped out ma and pa type businesses, and it wiped out some salons. Okay, so what did it leave? Fertile soil. We have to reinvent ourselves. We have to move forward. And a big part of moving forward, the lesson that we need to learn about is creating a culture that's healthy for people. And it's a different generation. It's a different generation, thankfully, because of the pandemic, thankfully, because of all the social unrest that's happening. we can't go back and do things that the way we did them before. So how can we invest and create a better culture environment for our team members, where people, one of my favorite movies is Field of Dreams. And the main line, the main message of that movie is build it and they will come. We need to build salon cultures where we won't have to go looking for passionate team members. They will find us. We have to be attractive enough that they want to come and work with us.
Yeah, this is so full of nuggets. And when you mentioned the whole forest fire, Michelle from our team is probably smiling as I am, because one of the very first YouTube videos we did, I think I mentioned we did like 22 YouTube videos at the start of the pandemic to help calm people down, give them a little direction, what was going on with the government and aid, and before a lot of stuff was coming out. One of the very first videos we did was about a forest fire.
Really?
And
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, it was, I actually had some visuals on it too. And it was all about that. A forest fire really is the beginning of new growth. So
Right.
When you said that, I was smiling to myself. Let's talk about that a little bit more in terms of building a culture and being even more specific on that, because I know that, again, being at, our 2 to 10 conference and being at other events, and, it's what everybody's talking about. And everybody's looking for nuggets on how to maybe shift their mindset. In many cases, we find ourselves, I know I do, I think it's a human tendency to blame and to say, woe is me. And, I don't understand this workforce and doesn't make, I was on with someone yesterday and they had someone that just, that had been with them 10 years and just resigned. And like, no acknowledgement the last 10 years. So there's a lot of discouraged people out there. And I think, staying on this subject a little bit more about building a culture and a place where people want to come, spend a little bit more time talking about that, please.
Oh, I'd love to. I love this topic. So thanks. First of all, yes, there is a mass exodus. And I think that the reason why, it's a good reason, because people don't want to go back to the life that they had before. I hated that job. I hated my life. And they're like, I don't want to return to that. And the good news about that is that people are entering the beauty industry. You guys, in our public schools, enrollment is spiking. Why? Because people want to come back to what their first love was. And that was the professional beauty industry. I always wanted to do hair and makeup, but I did what somebody else wanted me to do. And I hated that job for 20 years. And so this is good news. I like what you said about people want to place blame. Sorry, but you can't be making excuses and placing blame while pursuing your dreams and accessing your brilliance at the same time. Choose one or choose the other. And if you're good at coming up with excuses, you'll never be good at anything else. So let that go, move beyond that. But you talk about the importance of a culture. Number one, it has to start from the top. So Tom, we're talking to leaders right now. And I get it that some of you love the idea of quarantine. You love the idea that right now you can just sit in your pajama bottoms. You only have to look good from the top up, right? You love that. Oh, I'm not going to go into the salon anymore because I can do team huddles virtually now. I don't have to go in and talk to them and be face to face with them. Of course, they all have to do that, but I don't have to do that anymore. You need to be present in your salon. It has to start from you. But to make this real simple, Tom, about what a healthy culture looks like, 3 basic human needs. This is so simple. 3 basic human needs. Number 1, people need to feel safe. Number 2, people need to feel that they belong. And number 3, people need to feel that they have a purpose. And if we can address, and we could spend days talking about those 3 things, but we need to focus on those 3 things, because that's what makes your salon, your business attractive. And that's where people want to grow. So again, however much time you want to spend on those 3 topics, I could passionately talk about them for days and days.
Yeah, I actually wish we had days and days. I already mentioned that. I was saying one day, I'd like multiple days now. Do spend a little more time talking about that. Okay. Purpose, belonging, safety.
Okay. I'll tell you a little story. I first started in the salon business. So I'm going back 40 years. After being in the salon business for just like 2 years, one day, this woman who worked for me in those first 2 years privately pulled me aside. And she said, Winn, I want you to know that for the last 20 years, I have been in a very abusive marriage. But because of working here for the last 2 years, I now have the courage to divorce this man. And I was like, huh? She's like, Winn, I've been in this horrible marriage for 20 years. But for the last 2 years, when I come to work every single day, I feel safe. I feel loved. I feel like I'm making a difference. I feel like I matter. And because of that, I now have the courage to divorce this man. Let me tell you something. That was a huge wake-up call for me. Because up until that point, I thought that my only role, my only responsibility as a business owner, as a salon owner, was to create a place where people come to earn a paycheck. So all I had to worry about was that I had a clean salon and great music and wonderful gourmet coffee and fashion magazines. That's all I needed to work on. And what she taught me that day was the responsibility that I have to create a place, again, where people feel safe, where they feel that they belong, and where they feel that they have a purpose. And so if we were just talking about how to feel safe, gossip, and you're thinking, oh, come on, Winn, really? We have to talk about gossip? Come on, that's too simple. Really? Gossip can destroy somebody, which, by the way, is kind of violent in a way. Gossip is verbal violence. And if your salon is a gathering spot for that, right? Your salon is basically on the set of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. That's the culture that you have created. Well, then people don't feel safe. It might be entertaining, as those shows can be for some people, right? It might be funny. It might be all kinds of things, but does it create a culture where people feel safe? Absolutely not. And that's such a simple example, but it's a powerful one.
Verbal violence. Wow. That's a very powerful statement there. I mean, the use of those two words with the word gossip it's certainly got my pen going. I never want to forget that. You know, your story, and we could go through those three things, but there's some other things I want to get with you. You have some anniversaries, and I want to discuss two of them. One of them is congratulations on 20 years as being Dean co-owner and co-founder of the Paul Mitchell Schools, which is a franchise company.
Correct.
That's a big milestone. How many schools in the Paul Mitchell network?
I think about 110. Originally, John Paul DeJoria is my partner in that. And when we started, our goal was to open up 7. So there's a video of me at the grand opening of the first one 20 years ago saying, yeah, and one day we're going to have 7 of these. And who knew? Now we're at 110.
You have another anniversary, and that has to do with addiction.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a moment. You have permission. You gave me permission to discuss that.
I did. And same as what I was sharing before, that I think that as leaders, we're storytellers, and our stories have to be where we're transparent, because this month in November, I'm 20 years clean off of drugs. And I share that often because I know that people are looking at me and thinking, well, gosh, he's sort of okay. He seems like he's doing pretty good. And he overcame that. Maybe there's hope for me. And I think that our job as leaders is to sell hope. That's the commodity, to sell hope, because somebody could be down and out. And boy, the stories are so real right now. There are people who are down and out because of the pandemic, because of, again, the social unrest, because of Asian hate, because of all kinds of reasons. There are people who are down and out. And if we can be that person who comes along and gives them the small glimmer of hope, well, then they can do something with that. They can grow from that. And so, I share my story of being clean, and because I know that that's going to give hope to other people, and I want to be transparent about that. So thank you for helping me to acknowledge that. It's a profound story that I like to tell.
Yeah. You also wrote a book with one of the classic best titles of all time, I've always loved the title of this book. Be Nice or Else. Wow, what a great title of a book. And I know you had certain Winn principles. I actually think we had them posted at the salon company that I was affiliated with in the past June. I think we actually had them posted. So that's a body of work that you, how long ago did you create that book?
The book came out 2 years after I became clean. So that was one of my steps of becoming clean. I'm a different person. I need to reinvent myself. And I wasn't writing a book. What I was doing was I was journaling. Okay, I'm not a drug addict anymore. I don't have that same circle anymore. I don't have those same beliefs anymore, those same behaviors. Well, then who am I? What do I believe in? What do I stand for? What's my path moving forward? And so what I was doing was I was journaling. I was writing things down, and that was very profound. That was just such a wonderful, wonderful exercise, and I highly recommend that. You know, I've stood on stages, as I'm sure you have, Tom, and we say things from the stage and we're like, oops, okay, I just said that. It's out there, not sure that I really believed what I just said. But when you're writing, it's more methodical. When you're writing, it's like, okay, do I really believe this? And so that journaling really caused me to come up with a plan for my life. And in the process, and because my life with my personal life and my business life is pretty much one and the same. Remember, they told us that we were supposed to divide our lives. And I was like, really? So I'm supposed to leave my soul at home when I go to work? I could never figure that out. So to me, it's all blended. So as I was journaling, of course, it included some of my beliefs about business and about principles and about leadership and about building a culture and creating collaboration and attracting wonderful people. And so all of that went into my journaling. And then I had good friends that I was sharing that with, and they are the ones who encouraged me and said, you know what, maybe this needs to be a book. And by the way, the or else part came from Larry King, because the book was called Be Nice. He heard that I was writing the book and asked if he could write the foreword for my book. And he said, but I don't like the title of your book. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've already got the title tattooed my body. You want to change the name of my book? He said, I want it to be called Be Nice or Else. So that's my Larry King imitation, Be Nice or Else. But I just want to say the or else, everybody thinks that the or else is some type of a negative threat. No, it's not that at all. The or else means be nice or live a miserable life. Be nice or be a horrible parent. Be nice or be a bad human being. That's the or else part of it.
Now you had your, and I'm for selfish reasons, I could keep coming with my questions, but I'm gonna ask you one more question, then we're gonna go to the chat and see what's coming up there, because I could see there's a ton of stuff in the chat. So I remember, and by the way, I've got the book, and I need to get the book out of my book library and read it again. I think Michelle from our team just posted it. But you had a like top 10 list or something like that, of like do's or don'ts. And it's been posted in break rooms across the world, I'm sure. Do you mind summarizing? Is it 10 or what was it?
It is 10. It's called our golden rules.
Okay.
I mean, there are other lists, but that list are the golden rules that are the foundation for our culture. So, and some of them are pretty simple, like golden rule, be on time. And why is that important? Because again, this is a culture of collaboration, love, respect, and professionalism. And if you're late all the time, what message does that send out to your team members? That you don't care about them. And that may or may not be true. And I always want to share with people that not only do you have to own the reality, you have to own people's perception of you. Yep. Meaning that people, you could be Mother Teresa, but if people have the perception that you're a jerk, why? Because you're on the phone all the time. You need to own people's reality of you. People's perception of you. And some people say, well, I don't really care what people think about me. And I'm like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because how you make money in this industry is by having hundreds of people spend hundreds of dollars with you. They believe in you so much that they are willing to pay you money for you to help them look good and to feel good. Yes, you do care about what people think about you. And if people think that you're a jerk, and I could give you a whole list of reasons why that might happen. If people think that you're a jerk, you need to own that reality. And so something as simple as be on time. Another one is always be in a great mood, fake it when necessary. My good friend Eric Fisher says that there's 2 reasons why he will fire an employee from his salon. The first reason is if they steal from him. The second reason is if they show up to work in a bad mood. He will fire them on the spot. Now, he will rehire them 5 minutes later if they leave and come back in a good mood. But again, it's your job, and it's written. You're right. It's on posters. It's your job to always be in a great mood, fake it when necessary. And the reason why the golden rules are written out and they're hanging poster size and we talk about them all the time is because you can't hold people accountable to something that's not written down. We all pride ourselves on the systems that we have in our salons because systems run successful businesses. But there are 2 qualities of a system. The first quality of a system is it's written down. If it's not written down, then you don't have a system. If how you run your business is only in your head, you leave on vacation for 2 weeks, everything falls apart. That's not a system. If it's not written down, there's not a system.
All right. Wonderful. Let's go to the chat here, and I'm going to go in reverse order. Christine Griffith says she still has her autographed copy. When we gave this book to our entire 80-person team at our summit 5 years ago. So a nice shout out there. Shara.
Thank you, Christine.
Christine's down in Florida. Her and James Griffith are regulars, good friends of ours too, own James Griffith salons. Shara from Oregon. She's actually a salon owner up in Portland, 2 locations, also in the process of becoming a Qnity coach. I'm currently obsessed with the concept of belonging and working to integrate into my company. Can you speak to any key insights to creating a culture of belonging? So let's acknowledge that one.
Absolutely. 60% of people say no one has my back. And by the way, half of them are married. So, and that sounds, oh my gosh, that's terrible news. Well, it's good news for us. If we can create a salon environment, because there are people who don't even feel like they belong at home. If we create a salon environment where people feel, again, safe and that they belong, and how you help people feel like they belong is that things as simple as that their opinions matter. They have a voice. When people feel like that they do not have a voice, that they are not seen, they don't feel like they belong. Do I fit in here? Do I resonate with your culture, with the demographic of the other team members and the guests that come into the salon? And boy, is that message clearer now than it ever has been before, thankfully. And we need to be really good stewards of that. We need to take a step back and say, am I really creating a culture where everyone belongs? You know, we have trainings within my company and my organization on how to create a safe, inclusive environment where our transgendered team members and students feel like they belong. And people don't even want to have that conversation. And the conversation is, okay, what about restrooms? Why aren't we having that conversation? Because without that conversation, and that's one thing on the list, without having those conversations, you better believe you are creating a culture where people do not feel safe, where they do not belong. And you're thinking, well, it's just that one demographic. No, because by not taking care of that one demographic, what you're doing is you're sending out the message that others can be on that list too. Other people, other cultures may not feel like they belong either because you send out that one message. So again, just I hope I answered that question, but just again, people need to have a voice.
Yeah. All right. A lot of the chats on here are just people giving you a shout out, and you might want to read some of these. Meanwhile, what I like to do is when the reason I do this is because people show up. And so I like to take a minute just to acknowledge who showed up today. So just bear with me a little bit. So let's see who's on the call because I've been so engaged in this conversation. All right, so who do we got today? We got a really good turnout. We have Amanda, we have Anna, we have Ann, we have Anna. Arsalan, good morning from North Carolina. Hello, Ashley. Ashley, glad you're going to be joining our trainer certification. Good morning, Bonnie. Candace Gliato, she's one of our coaches and educators from California. Another Candace, a Caroline, Carrie Perkins from our team, amazing person. Casey, Cheyenne. I feel like I could say something special about all these people, but I don't want to take all day here. Christine B from Texas, Christine G, Dawn, Erica. Hello, Jackie here from the Twin Cities. James, Jan, thank you for your comment. Jana, good morning from Arizona. Glad you joined us today. Hello, Jennifer and Joe and Julia and Jorga. Karen and Kate and Kelly and Con from California, Laura, Leon Alexander gave you a shout out. I think you interviewed him. Good morning, Megan, by the way. I haven't even gotten to Megan yet. Where was I here? I got off track. Linda, also from the Twin Cities. Lisa, Mark, Marcia. Hello, Marcia. Mary from Michigan. Hello, Megan, Melissa, Michelle, Nina, Pennsylvania. Hello, Patricia. Thanks for joining us. Paul Tate, you joined us, which is awesome. Hey, Ralph and Robert and Roman from Tennessee, and Ross and Sam and Samantha. Samantha, glad you joined us today. Glad all of you joined us today. Sandra, Scott Schneiderman, who I've collaborated with quite a bit. Cher, I've already mentioned. Stephanie, Tina, Tony, and Trent.
You know what that just reminded me of? What was that show, Romper Room, where, remember they acknowledged the little kids? I see Tommy out there. And by the way, Tom, what you just did was a cultural belief system that helps people feel like, wow, I'm seen. I belong here. I feel safe. I'm part of a tribe. We want to belong to something that's bigger than ourselves.
Yeah. You mentioned the word hope, and the whole theme for these calls early on, which was right in the thick of the pandemic. Our first roundtable was May 13th, 2020. And I'm going to drop a little tease to the whole group today. I'm going to drop a little hint on something coming up to celebrate 2 years. But anyway, our theme at the very beginning, Michelle just typed it, but she beat me to the punch, is hope plus action. That was really our theme when all of us were in panic mode, present company included. Okay. It was all about selling hope, but also adding the word action to that and saying hope is great, but we need hope with action.
Right.
When I feel like we're just getting warmed up, oh my God, romper room. Yeah, love that. I feel like we're just getting warmed up, and I feel like I literally could talk to you all day. I want to address one other area here, and health, and the importance of health and how that gives you vitality, because you have a ton of energy. You mentioned you're 62 years old, you're in great health. And I share that passionate belief about health being the core to so much. So let's actually end on something completely unrelated with money, but health and taking care of yourself as a leader.
Thank you. That's great. And by the way, I love your hope plus action. Courage doesn't mean that we don't have fear. Courage means we have the fear and we do it anyway. And I'm sure all your listeners right now, they're scared. And guess what? Nobody would blame you. Nobody would blame you. But courage means we're going to do it anyway. It's scary out there. We're going to take action. But as we keep on saying, it has to start with you. And so this topic of health and wellness is more important than ever before. There are people who came out of the pandemic, out of being quarantined, in better health, and some came out in worse health. Some came out with better, stronger, more loving and committed marriages, and some came out the opposite of that. And so all of us going into the quarantine, we all had a choice of what we were going to do with our focus and with our time. And so by the way, having this kind of energy does not come naturally to me. So it's not like people sit back, well, this is easy for Winn. No, it's not. I'm very, very dedicated and committed to that routine that I have to stay on track. And it does take that kind of a commitment. So it's all the stuff that everybody already knows about. It's about 8 hours of sleep every single night. It's about my diet. It's about drinking a ton of water. Yes, I became drug-free 20 years ago. I became alcohol-free 4 years ago. And can I tell you something about that? To this date, Tom, I've never received a positive response from that. So you're sitting at a dinner table and they're pouring wine. No, not from me. I've never received a positive response. People look at me like, ooh, what's the story, Winn? Was it court ordered? Do you have DUIs in your past? They always think that it was some backstory and that it's a bad story, rather than, you know what, I just made the decision that I don't want alcohol in my life anymore. And so there's just all kinds of little decisions that we can make along the way that are going to get us back on that track, or finally on that track, because none of us are getting younger here. And I need a ton of energy to be able to do what I plan to do, not just as a dad. You know, I'm going to be 70 when my daughter graduates from high school. Okay. I need energy. But just what I want to accomplish in terms of being a contributor to this planet, whether I have 2 employees or thousands of employees, we created something that people belong to, and we're responsible for making sure that that's a healthy culture of wellness. And to have that credibility is a huge word for me. Credibility. If I stand on a stage, doesn't mean I'm perfect, doesn't mean I mastered it, but you better believe I'm on that path, I'm on that journey. And another topic that I could spend days, what does that discipline look like for me to have this kind of energy, to have this kind of happiness, to be able to accomplish everything that I want to accomplish?
Well, Winn, I've had a ton of light bulb moments today. Okay. And I'll give you a little wave to that.
I got to get me some props. I don't have any props, Tom.
And
I just have my candle. That's all I have is my little candle going here, but I don't have any props.
Well, I do need to officially award you the $1 million light bulb. Okay. And this will be forthcoming to you. This is a formal recognition of you joining the Brain Trust. If everybody could please give Winn a virtual round of applause, give him a little bit more of a shout out in the chat there. Amazing share today, Winn. I was so looking forward to this. I was a little intimidated because of, a guy that has done over 325 interviews and was coached by Larry King. I've started interviewing people just out of sort of how you started at the beginning. I mean, to learn and just to give back and all of that. So thank you for joining us,
Tom. You have this natural curiosity, which is genuine, and it's attractive. So for you to be an interviewer is just a natural thing for you to do because it's genuine. So good job. Thanks for including me.
Thanks, Winn. We're going to do this again in an hour, so we should take a break here. Now, I do want to make an announcement to the group here, and this will be made public in a little bit more detail, but I'm going to give you a little hint. I'm going to ask everybody to mark on their calendar May 15th, 2022. May 15th, 2022. That is a Sunday. And more details will be forthcoming, but we are going to do a major celebration of 2 years of light bulb moments. We're going to invite all members of the Brain Trust. We're going to be awarding some golden light bulbs. And then we have some follow-up sessions on May 16th and 17th. So please, everybody, grab your calendar out and put a mystery next to it, because we are going to be announcing something pretty major in 2 weeks. We're off next week. Why are we off next week? Oh, because we're at the PBA Executive Summit, and then we have the Beauty Changes Lives board meeting next week. So we're off next week, and then we're off for Thanksgiving. So we're going to be on in 2 weeks. I think we actually have the guest figured out in advance, which makes me half uncomfortable because, I like living on the edge here, wondering who the guest is going to be. But anyway, May 15th, as well as May 16th and 17th, please mark it on your calendar. It is going to be a celebration of light bulb moments. I'm not going to say the city yet. I'm not going to reveal all the other details. I just want you to save the date. And when you save the date too, please, because I want you there. All right.
All right. Writing it down right now. May
May 15th,
May 15th.
2022.
Got it.
It is going to be in the western part of the country, and it is going to be followed up by 2 days of inspiration, learning, education, and all of that. So
I'm gonna write it in. I still write everything down. My whole planner. Nothing's electronic. I don't know. See, this is me. This is how I keep my life together.
you know what? There's a connection between the hand and the brain.
I love it. I can't give it up.
And I think the digital revolution has its costs, and not everything belongs digital because there is a connection to the hand of the brain. So, all right, let me see here. We've got like 2 minutes here. So let me see if I've got anything else. I love this picture, by the way. Look at that chair, man. I want that green chair. That's a cool looking chair. All right, we got your light bulb moment. I'm sort of getting ADD myself here a little bit. A reminder, everybody, we're super excited about our new money course that will be available to the professional part of the work that we do. Right now, it's just available in the schools, Money by Qnity. It has multiple different modules that will really not only teach financial literacy and money skills, but life skills for the next generation of beauty professionals. We're on today at noon Central Time. Winn and I will be back together. We're going to let it flow organically, Winn, just like we did this time. Reminder also, I am such a believer in coaching, and we've got great coaches. We've got some of them joining us today. We got Candace joining us and Carrie. So working with a coach will also help provide that sort of needed nudge that comes from the right relationship. You can use this QR code to book a free coaching session today. And let me see, reminder, next week and the week after, we're off for the roundtables. We're back on. Michelle will put in the chat what week we're actually back on. I know you had light bulb moments today. You had to be asleep at the wheel today if you didn't have at least a dozen light bulb moments. So anyway, hopefully you found those connections to inspire you to move forward. Closing thoughts. I've used this quote for about 3 weeks in a row, but the bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot. Thanks for joining us. We will see you in 2 weeks. Winn, we'll see you in an hour. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, everyone.